Queens, New York, November 11th. In fact, November the 9th. In trial court, Queen Supreme Court, something, Kew Gardens, Queens Boulevard. I was called to court about a 1986 case. I asked that this case over the years, been fighting this case over the years. And one of the main reasons is, and still will remain, how can you make lawful something that's not lawful? How can you abuse authority over the civil rights of a person's right to be free without being imprisoned, thrown in jail or prison, when in fact there was never a crime? So I'm saying to the court, I've been saying to the court after I discovered that this is what happened, how can you just hold this down? And it's strange that the Queen's Supreme District Attorney's Office, Miss Katz, she's a now District Attorney of Queen District Attorney's Office, they have an office, a department, a division where they reinvestigate cases where persons that's convicted wrongly or they reinvestigate it to check it out, see whether it's true, because Queen is one of the other boroughs who have a high rate of convicting people with question marks or illegally, or either where there is questionable evidence. The evidence is like the DNA, fingerprints and bloods and all that stuff, like the evidence, without the evidence being per se dealing with the person connectedness. In other words, that was their fingerprints. Or was it their fingerprints? But there was fingerprints. It looked like their fingerprints. Technology back then is not the same as it is to this day. DNA wasn't used back then, but it's used today. Back then, they just go by whatever evidence they come across, and if there was any kind of indication that you was connected to that evidence, that's what it was. That's the grounds that they had to prosecute you. And if they found you guilty because you have fingerprints, you was there, blah, 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 and there was some kind of evidence of a crime, then that's how they convicted you, or that's how they justify saying, okay, well, that's why we did it. Well, in my case, there was no evidence of any crime. And I'm trying to understand the difference between when there's evidence, then that's something different. You can infer, you can say, okay, well, we have this type of evidence. There was injuries, hospitalizations, there was hospital visits, there was weapons involved, there was there was assaults, there was threats. Something. Wipe out all that. Because it was none of that. Nothing. The strangest thing about that, crimes, when you got to do a lot of time, usually hits the media in those 5 boroughs up in New York. There's not one borough where there's a crime where a person have to do over 10, 15 years that it's not in some type of tabloid. Period. Up in New York. And it's odd that to this day, it's not even a follow-up. To this day, everyone that was involved in the prosecution is nowhere to be found. I have no words. But if you look at the evidence, if you was to go to the evidence room to look for evidence pertaining to a crime of criminality, you find nothing. You won't even find a box that marked evidence, period. It's odd. Not even make-believe evidence. Something that you just they threw up in there and say, okay, we found this. Not even that. And it's crazy because what happens is that it's like you can just say having the armed forces go across the oceans of the world to fight other countries about human violations of civil and human rights. But in your backyard, in here in America, when it's brought to your attention, I don't care who has or changed the seat of power, the law is still the same. You got the constitutional right, state and federal, freedom of speech. You got the freedom to petition and the right to petition the government for redress of dispute. You got the right. You got the right to be protected by all the laws of the Constitution. The right to due process and equal protection of laws. You got these rights. These laws are mandated. This is the supreme law of this country. No state can make a law, a rule, or decision that overrides these protective laws. That's why democracy is what it is over in this America. America is one of the most liberated countries in the world to this day. You can kill a person or you can kill a whole building of people in America, but you still have a day in court to try to prove you're innocent, if that's what you want to do. I mean, you still have it. It's called due process. And that's constitutional right. Every state must follow that. And it's strange when you have a situation where that's on the court calendar and I have to, where is that? I was told by Judge John Zoll in Queens that he's going to adjourn the case because the district attorney, once I got there, the district attorney, supposedly didn't reply, hadn't replied to something that they had noticed for quite some time. My thing is that it's not too hard to reply to something that you don't have nothing to support that actually happened. Period. Now, my thing is this. He said, gave me a choice between my adjournment time period I would prefer. And I asked him, so look, you think we can have the hearing today? He said, no. Okay, well, I'm not going to. This is your court. All right, so I made my choice. So he gave me a adjourn date. And oddly, like a few days, 2 days, 3 days after I get back home, I get in the mail reply papers by district attorney. The district attorney is going back through he's trying to bring up all the ruckus of all these different clouds and all these different innuendos and all these different motions I had previously brought up. And listen, you can't make legal something that's illegal. You can't do that. Federally mandated, constitutionally mandated. You can't deprive me of due process. You can't make legal what is not legal. You didn't have the right in the beginning. So in the end, you're still wrong. Period. Fruit of the poisonous tree. When it started off wrong, it's always going to be wrong. Regardless. It don't make a difference. That's how the law is supposed to go. That's how the law usually go, and that's how the law has been going. Look at this kid over there in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He shot 2 persons, killed 2 persons, injured 1 person. The judge in the case said, well, his lawyers said, like, well, he shouldn't be allowed to have that gun used as evidence against him in the court of law because it's illegal. So the judge said, I don't care, I'm gonna allow it. Sometime thereafter, judge, after looking into the law and realized, oh, wait a minute, that law is not clear on whether or not that's considered, because he was a teenager, as he is now 18 years old. He was like 17, 16 last year was 17 years old. That was in 2020 that happened. The Kenosha riot, people running around, and that riot where things was just chaotic, all kinds of different crazy throwing fire bombs and setting things to blaze and all kinds of crazy stuff that was going on out there in the streets there. As a teenager, come along with his assault rifle, and then he had a fire extinguisher. You know, the strange thing, he had a fire extinguisher, and he actually put it down, and then he picked up his AK and started shooting, killing 2 and injuring 1. And his defense is that he was acting in self-defense. Well, I'm not even getting into that. I'm not even getting into that. But my thing is this: you can't make legal what's not legal. You can't. If somebody spit on the sidewalk, you can't say I'm gonna arrest you and charge you with a felony, and then tell the prosecutor prosecute him because he spit on. I said prosecute him. He can't afford a lawyer, and the lawyer's trying to charge him money he don't have. Then he get one of these winky-dinky public defenders that works for the city on the down low, different type of ways, compromising, put it that way. They're not trying to really win a case for you. They're trying to work out a settlement or plea bargain with you, if anything. They're not going to try to win you a case where you would actually be coming back and knocking on that lawsuit door, etc., etc., etc. Not going to do that. So you thrown in the can. Come to find out, all the while you just know there was no law, because you ain't know nothing about no law that says if you spit on the sidewalk, period, you can do that. If there's a law said you can't assault a person, or jump a person, or shoot a person, but no person was shot, and you didn't, no person was assaulted, you can't convict the person of assault. Daggone it. I mean, what is their problem? How would you have your son or child or relative of yours be incarcerated, or your husband or your wife be arrested and convicted for something that never happened? And then the system that's supposed to be right is functioning like it's all right, and they're wrong. Doesn't make a sense, and then it don't make no sense whatsoever. So, in saying that, there is no way people in America can sleep soundly knowing the system of government allows this to happen. I just want to bring it up because if people don't talk and speak about the wrongs that happens by government officials, change for the right, change for good, change for the betterment of America. Because, you know, we got an influx of different cultures, Mexicans, Asians. China's all messed up, so a lot of Asians coming in. Mexico, there's a lot of Mexicans coming in. But before then, you know, other different cultures from different parts of the world came and migrated. So it's like a big melting pot of different cultures that's all mixed into the bowl of becoming all American culture people. American citizens that is protected by the constitutional rights, the rights of this country. That's what it's all about. And the rights and the laws that's supposed to be enforced accordingly. That's what this country is supposed to be about. That's why all these other countries outside America, citizens are fighting hard to get to this country, getting a visa, citizenship, papers and documentations, etc., etc. But that's one of the reasons why. Because America affords that kind of right, civil rights. But anyone who has had any incident of government misconduct should bring it out, should talk about it, should bring it to the media. Even if someone don't say nothing, comment on it, just to say it, because we all at some point in time have seen it, heard about it, read about it, maybe even experienced, unfortunately, ourselves. And sometimes you just don't know what to do or who to talk to, what to say. You got media on apps like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You just put it up there. Just put it up there. Because you'd be surprised people who will listen and see themselves that other people have suffered wrong too. And they just put it out there. Because somewhere along the line, somebody in the government can hear and will hear and see or note this. They might not directly get in contact with you or say something to you, but indirectly, sometimes what they do is discreetly go behind and they look into things of such. That's what they do. They don't have to necessarily contact you because they're busy doing other big things outside of being individually involved with your tying the whole government, a bureau up with your issue per se. Unless there was like a lot of people, pandemic wide, pandemonium type thing, they're not gonna tie it too much up into that. They're just gonna have a little call down, check that out, straighten that out. We don't like what we're hearing down there type thing. And normally these people, because that's their responsibility as civil servants, these people who are in these jobs working for the government, working under the government, excuse me, representing the government, my bad, representing the government, that's their job. Their job is to serve the people. Their job is to uphold the laws of righteousness, the laws of this country that mandate how things are supposed to be done. And if it's not done according to the law, it's not supposed to be done at all. That's how it is. And saying that, I'm going to call it a wrap right now for the night because I see somebody calling me. So